So it's fair to say people have assumptions about me when they take one look at this and they think that this kid has to be some sort of gamer. This has got to be the face of a basement dwelling gamer type person that, is logged in and has all these hours built into these, first person shooter games. And let me just say, on the record, yes, I am a bit of a gamer, but not to a like a degree that I consider like professional or like, I don't log in hours. Like I'm considered like the moderate, if I have the time, maybe I'll play certain games here and there. Like I know that I, you know, grew up with video games at points of my life, but I'm not like one of those, all throughout the night, all through craziness, those type of gamers. But this is really interesting that I want to show you this article here. There's this publication, this report that came out through Mint Press News that is I kind of have mixed feelings to this because I feel like I already knew that this was already happening. I had a hunch that I knew this was going to happen, but now it's confirmed because documents have actually revealed that a particular video game, one of the most common franchises out there, is actually a part of the military establishment and is embedded with the intelligence community through the video game. So, obviously, people know about Call of Duty. I know about Call of Duty. I don't really play much of it. Like, I have a copy. I don't even know what copy I have. I just have some Call of Duty game in my bookshelf there that I barely touch. All seriousness, I'm probably more like a Grand Theft Auto or one of those kind of people, or The Sims. I'm not one of those, up in arm military first person shooter games. All seriousness. But this is kind of interesting. And I wanted to show this to all the Gen Z millennial people out there because we already know. And like I said, I had a hunch about this because we've seen, documentations about how they're using Twitch to recruit younger members into the military. We've seen documents of how the CIA is occupying controls of, television and movie entertainment and how they're infiltrating themselves through Hollywood and the production value and how they're occupying studio spaces and green lighting scripts. So we know that, the imperialistic empire, the oligarchy, the war machine plays a huge part in our everyday media. But this is kind of interesting. And this, reveals out in the open because now they actually have documented proof on this. So this is an article. This is from Alan McLeod of Mint Press News. They put it together, and it's really interesting how far this goes. So it says Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 has been available for less than 3 weeks, but is already making waves, breaking records. Within 10 days, the first-person military shooter video game earned more than $1 billion in revenue, yet has also shrouded in controversy, not least because missions include assassinating Iranian general clearly based on Qasem Soleimani, a statesman and military leader slain by the Trump administration in 2020, and a level where players must shoot drug traffickers attempting to cross the US-Mexico border. The Call of Duty franchise is an entertainment juggernaut, having sold close to 500 million games since it was launched in 2003. 2003. I didn't think Call of Duty was that old. I didn't think it went that far. Because I didn't even know about it till like my later like high school years. Like I think I was about, I think it was about 16, 17 when I actually heard the what it was about and what the game was. Which is what, 2010, 2011. That's crazy. Its publisher, Activision Blizzard, is a giant in the in the industry, behind titles games such as Guitar Hero, Warcraft, StarCraft, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. That was my childhood right there. Loved the skating games. Crash Bandicoot and Candy Crush Saga. Yet, a closer inspection of Activision Blizzard's key staff and their connections to state power, as well as details gleaned from documents obtained under the Freedom of Information Act, reveal that Call of Duty is not a neutral first-person shooter, but a carefully constructed piece of military propaganda designed to advance the interests of the U.S. national security state. Why am I not surprised? Why am I not surprised? And there was something I remember there was I forget where it was, but there was some comment that was made about there's this debate about, you know, socialism versus capitalism, or some, you know, something like that. You'd see those every so often, and somebody pointed out that, oh, well, do you want the government in control of video games? And the guy that's supporting socialism said, well, if you look at the capitalist regime, the government kind of already is involved in video games. And people thought that was crazy, thought that was nuts. Like, oh, what do you mean government's involved in video games? Like, they're private companies. How can they do something like that? Now here's proof. The U.S. intelligence community, the national security state, is deeply involved with the creation of video games, the distribution of video games. You wonder why Call of Duty is the most biggest franchises in video game history. You wonder why. Maybe it's something to do with it being pushed and elevated because of the U.S. national security state involvement in it. Maybe because the CIA pushes it so harshly, like propaganda, compared to any other video game. So, I'm not shocked, but it's also very, very, very eye-opening to this. So, it has been a long been a matter of public record that American spies have targeted and penetrated Activision Blizzard games. Documents released by Edward Snowden revealed that the NSA, CIA, FBI, and the Department of Defense infiltrated the vast online realms, such as World of Warcraft, creating make-believe characters to monitor potential illegal activity and recruitment informers. World of Warcraft, they're actually getting spies to try to recruit people into the war machine, into the death cult, into the death machine in World of Warcraft. Indeed, at one point, there were so many U.S. spies in one video game that they had to create a death coalition group as they were wasting time unwillingly surveilling each other. There were so many of them, they were spying on each other. Virtual games, the NSA wrote, were an opportunity and a target-rich communication network. However, documents obtained legally under the Freedom of Information Act by journalist and researcher Tom Secker and shared with Mint Press News showed that the connections between the national security state and the video game industry go far beyond this and into active collaboration. And like I said, considering we know how much the intelligence communities, the security state, the war apparatus, the Department of Defense, their contribution, their collaboration with Hollywood, their collaboration with music, their collaboration with television shows. I mean, you wonder why Amazon Prime, their number one show that they're trying to recommend, is about the guy from The Office that's touring through Venezuela to go and slaughter people. And then all of a sudden they show on the news, hey, we got to go to Venezuela and slaughter some people. Coincidence or propaganda to make you believe that this is something we should do? Do you see how this all plays out? Do you see how deeply rooted and how evil and maniacal this is? And why this should not go unnoticed? This is how crazy this is. Unbelievably crazy that they're infiltrating young kids that think they're just playing an innocent video game involving, military men and women. And they're waking up to realize, oh my God, I'm playing make-believe of real-life situations that they're trying to recruit me with. In September 2018, for example, the United States Air Force flew a group of entertainment executives, including Call of Duty, Activision Blizzard producer Coco Fenici, to their headquarters at Hurlburt Field, Florida. The explicit reason for doing so, they wrote, was to showcase their hardware and make the entertainment industry more credible advocates for the U.S. war machine. We've got so this is what they say. We've got a bunch of people working on future blockbusters. Think Marvel, Call of Duty. Yeah, think about that for a second. Think about all the Marvel movies that have come out. You ever notice the messaging that they're giving in these movies and how they're the number one blockbuster? They're the number one top streamed movie on Netflix or Hulu or Disney Plus. You ever stop and look and wonder exactly why they're pushing stuff like this and why, great films like Platoon barely get a notice, or Apocalypse Now, or what's the other one I just saw the other day? I just rewatched it again. God's sakes. I had a brain fart there. Deer Hunter. Deer Hunter. Fantastic film. Wonderful storyline. That's get completely swept under the rug because they want to make room for these bloodthirsty, warlike blockbusters. And they show it all the time, all the streaming networks, but you don't see any anti-war voices. Again, you think about that for a second. Wrote one Air Force officer. Another email notes that the point of the visit was to provide heavy-hitting producers with AFSOC, Air Force Special Operations Command immersion, focused on special tactics, airmen, and air-to-ground capabilities. This is great opportunity to educate this community and make them more credible advocates for us in the production of any future movies, television productions on the Air Force and our special tactics community, wrote the AFSOC Community Relations Chief. And then we're also shown helicopters, planes in action, both of which are heavily in Call of Duty games. So, this is, again, it's full-on tactics. It's full-on tactics. It's not just, I'm going to show you what a real military helicopter looks like so your game looks a little more realistic. No, it's the fact that the military apparatus, the military industrial complex, wants to get in bed with the video game industry because they know a bunch of, Gen Zers and millennials, like myself, are a bunch of gamers. They're a bunch of nerds. So how are we going to appeal to the nerd community to go slaughter people in another country and go sacrifice themselves? How are we going to recruit people like that? I know. Maybe get in bed with their games. Get in bed with their video connections. Get in bed with Twitch. Get in bed with, the pro gamer leagues. The MLG games. Get in bed with those, and then maybe we can try to recruit these nerds and somehow make the military cool for them. Oh, you get to slaughter so many people just in a drone. Think of all the innocent children you get to kill using your Xbox controllers. Or PlayStation. Whichever you want. Yet Call of Duty collaboration with the military goes much back further. The documents show that the U.S. Marine Corps was also involved in the production of Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 and Call of Duty 5. The game's producers approached the USMC at the 2010 E3 Entertainment Convention in Los Angeles, requesting access to hovercrafts, vehicles which later appeared in the game. Call of Duty 5 executives also asked for the use of hovercraft, a tank, and a C-130 aircraft. This collaboration continued in 2012 with the release of Modern Warfare 4, where producers requested access to all manner of air and ground vehicles. Secker told Mint Press that by collaborating with the gaming industry, the military ensures a positive portrayal that can help it reach recruitment targets stating that. So this is what they say here. For certain demographics for gamers, it's a recruitment portal. Some first-person shooters have embedded adverts within the games themselves. Even without this sort of explicit recruitment effort, games like Call of Duty make warfare seem fun, exciting, and escape from the drudgery of their normal lives. Escape from normal life and partake in war crimes. I mean, this is just... I'm shocked, but I'm not shocked. Like, I have so many mixed emotions to this because, again, it's not surprising that Call of Duty would be in bed with the military, considering it's a military, heavily, first-person shooter game. I wouldn't be surprised. I'm not surprised, considering the role that the intelligence community has been involved with every form of media since we known about media. They're involved with the music industry. They're involved with television, movies, everything. Every form and mode of entertainment they have digging their heels into. And, of course, with the rising, youngsters that are playing these games, and they're trying to get more recruitments, and I know that there's articles out there that the military is scrambling around for recruiters because, oh my God, nobody wants to sacrifice themselves for a bunch of bloodthirsty capitalists anymore. So what are we going to do? We can't blame the millennial generation anymore. We just can't do any more articles about it. So let's go to a, Twitch event and recruit them that way. Or let's make another Marvel movie, make another bloodthirsty superhero, and try to convince them that way. Without actually showing the actual perils of war. The actual disturbing, disgusting reality that is modern warfare. And like I said, there's a reason why you don't see any... I don't see on Netflix, I don't see on Disney Plus. I don't know if you can see any streaming service with, Platoon or Apocalypse Now or anything that actually shows the true bloodshed of war. And not just some sort of parade or pariah or some sort of festival of the superhero that clobbers in and destroys all and comes out a winner. Secker's documentary, Theaters of War, How the Pentagon and CIA Took Hollywood, was released earlier this year. The military clearly held considerable influence over the direction of Call of Duty games. In 2010, its producers approached the Department of Defense for help on a game set in 2075. However, the DOD liaison expressed concern that the scenario was being considered involving future war with China. Oh, so they're predictors now. They're clairvoyant, apparently. Oh, so they're just, Chuck Todd will be very, very happy with this. Because he was trying to do this make-believe version of, if we go to war with China, if we have nuclear war, here's the tactics. Here's how it's going to work out. Let's play a little war game. As a result, Activision Blizzard began looking at other possible conflicts to design the game around. In the end, due in part to military objections, the game was permanently abandoned. And here's this too. So this is how connected it really is. It's not just, I'm going to secret meetings with the DOD, or I'm just calling them up for favors here or there. They actually have former members of the CIA, former members of the DOD involved in the making process. Because look at this. Not only does Activision Blizzard work with the U.S. military to shape its products, but its leadership board is also full of former high states officials. Chief amongst these is Francis Townsend, Activision Blizzard's senior counsel, and until September, its chief compliance officer and executive vice president for corporate affairs. Prior to joining Activision Blizzard, Townsend spent her life working her way up the rungs of the national security state. It's like a revolving door. So I guess if you work your way up and become the top bloodshed killer of the government, you can get your way into video game making. Yay! It's not just for creepy nerds anymore. Now it's for psychopaths. Yay! Previously serving as head of intelligence for the Coast Guard and as Secretary of State for Condoleezza Rice counterterrorism deputy in 2004, President Bush appointed her his intelligence advisory board. Oh, good. So you were in part of manufacturing war. So, hey, if you can manufacture an illegal war out in reality, you are certainly so qualified to manufacture a make-believe war in a fictional, pixelated world in a video game. Wow. As the White House most senior advisor in terrorism and homeland security, Townsend worked closely with Bush and Rice and became one of the faces of the administration's war on terror. One of her principal achievements was to whip the American public into a constant state of fear about the supposed threat of more Al-Qaeda attacks, which never came. And if you remember seeing the video, we showed it here, of Hillary Clinton admitting in the open in 2010, right in front of Congress, that her and the rest of the establishment, the rest of the White House establishment, created Al-Qaeda, created these terror groups to go after the Soviets and rise them up so they could control the Middle Eastern countries. Then now we're fighting that creation. Because now those terrorist groups that we try to infiltrate and rise up start to get more overpowering, and we lost control over them. So now we had to go in and stop them. We're fighting our own creation. As part of her job, Townsend helped popularize the term enhanced interrogation techniques, a Bush-era euphemism for torture detainees. Worse still, Lieutenant Colonel Stephen L. Jordan, the officer in charge of the notorious Abu Ghraib prison, alleged that Townsend put pressure on him to ramp up the torture program, reminding him many, many times that we need to improve the intelligence output from the Iraqi jail. Townsend has denied these allegations. She has also later condemned the handcuffing and humiliation surrounding Abu Ghraib. She was not referring to the prisoners. However, in an interview with CNN, she lamented that these career professionals, CIA torturers, had been subject to humiliation and abbreviation after details of their actions were made public, meaning that the future administrations would be handcuffed by the fear of bad publicity, while the intelligence community would be more of a risk averse. During the Trump administration, Townsend was hotly tipped to become the director of national intelligence, or the security of Homeland Security. President Trump also approached her for the role of director of the FBI. Instead, however, Townsend took a seemingly unconscious career detour to become an executive at a video game company. That is the most deranged fairy tale I've ever read. Once upon a time, a bloodthirsty sociopath who worked her way up in the government decided to live happily ever after at a video game company. And now you wonder why Call of Duty is the #1 game. And why so many people are playing this, and they don't even realize that they're mimicking real life. Like, they're sure, yes, it's probably a cool game, and I've played it once, so I understand the thrill. I understand the passion of it. But at the same time, it's crazy to believe that you're basically playing a simulation of what's actually happening behind closed doors. Because all the stuff that you're playing in this game, all the missions, all the challenges, all the locations, were actually perpetrated actual military operations that the United States wants to occupy. That's why it's so crazy that all of a sudden a show that involves, the guy from The Office on Amazon Prime going to Venezuela to stop, how evil it is. And then all of a sudden it shows on the news that, Venezuela is evil. It's not a coincidence. It's all planned. It's all planned purposely. And they're using forms of Hollywood. They're using forms of, media, and they're using forms of streaming and video games and music and art and everything. Every medium of media to perpetrate, to manipulate, and to continue on the gut-wrenching, inhumane, unspeakable imperialistic empire that is doing unspeakable things against humanity. And like I said, I am shocked that they're revealing all this. I'm shocked that this report came out. But I'm also not stunned because we already know how deeply rooted the entire entertainment industry is with the intelligence community. Thanks to whistleblowers like Edward Snowden. Thanks to people like Julian Assange. Thanks to people at WikiLeaks that remind us exactly who's approving all these scripts. Who's the ones that's pushing and peddling and advertising all these, latest blockbusters that all surprisingly are very similar when it comes to elevating the imperialist empire, some sort of greatness, and then saying that, Russia or China or X country is the evil one. And then you go to watch the news and it's history repeating itself. Like, just how crazy that is, but also not crazy. Just a lot of mixed emotions. Let's just say that. A lot of mixed emotions, but, I'm not going to condemn people from playing Call of Duty. Because like I said, I understand the thrill of video games as someone that plays GTA myself. But at least I know when I'm playing Grand Theft Auto, I'm not going to become a drug dealer. I'm not going to go to South Florida or Los Angeles or New York City. I was trying to think Liberty City, New York City, and become a drug dealer, become, a prostitute king, become a pimp, to do any of that. Like, I know the difference between fiction and reality, but this is just bizarre. This is just crazy and can't go unseen. Can't go unseen.